Tommy DeVito signing, all good stuff. As you take a look at tonight's NFL preseason game, certainly have quite a few on deck that we're going to talk about. Don't know if we'll get as much personality in any of these games tonight, but we do have some good personality from our good friend and NFL writer John Breach, who's stopping by with a look ahead at some of those games tonight. No Jameis, John. We're going to avoid that and move on. But we are going to talk about the Bears and the Chiefs. We're going to see the starters on both sides of this matchup here. What's the biggest thing you're looking for on either side of this matchup?
Well, anyway, I think it's absolutely the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams. We saw him make his preseason debut last week against the Buffalo Bills. But guess what? The Bills didn't play any of their starters, so that wasn't too difficult of a challenge for that Bears offense. That being said, Williams did look good, which is exactly what you want when you are playing an opponent who has their second or third team out there. And the fact that he was running Ben Johnson's offense, it's the first time that we got to see it in a game situation, and he ran it well, which is what you want to see if you're a Bears fan. So now Caleb Williams is going to be tested because the Chiefs should have their defensive starters out there for at least one possession, maybe the entire first quarter. And so you just want to see that he can do tonight what he did last week. So if Caleb Williams continues to evolve in this Ben Johnson system and runs the offense smoothly, then you are going to be happy if you are a fan in Chicago. And then defensively for the Bears, if Patrick Mahomes is playing tonight, if you end your preseason by keeping Patrick Mahomes out of the end zone, that's a great way to be going into the regular season. So I would say that the team to watch is the Bears. We know what the Chiefs are. We know who Patrick Mahomes is. The Bears are the young team. They have a lot to prove. They're coming off a 5-win season. They have a new head coach. So this is a way for them to end the preseason on a high note.
8:20 Eastern from Arrowhead. Curious if our new Cover 2 queen, Taylor Swift, is going to be in attendance for this game, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's go to the one on CBS next, John. Vikings at Titans. It's going to kick off a few minutes before the game we just talked about there. We know Cam Ward is going to get the start. Still hasn't seen him throw a touchdown pass in this preseason, so obviously he'll be looking to do that tonight, John. But what else do you want to see out of the #1 pick?
Well, it's just the way he runs the offense there. You look at what the Titans are trying to do. If Cam Ward is struggling, that offense is just not going to be good. And you look at what the Titans have done during the preseason, that first game against the Buccaneers, Cam Ward didn't look bad, 5 of 8 for 67 yards. But then he came back against the Falcons last week, and it felt like he took a small step back. He had a 35-yard pass, I think, on his first play of the game. But after that, he closed out the game by completing just 1 of 6 passes for 7 yards. So you want to see a little bit more of that from your #1 overall pick. And then when you consider that he's been on the field for 5 possessions this preseason, he's only led 1 scoring drive, he's only thrown 1 touchdown pass. So I think if you are Titans coach Brian Callahan, what you want to see is Cam Ward put together a whole entire drive, put some points on the board, whether it's field goals, touchdowns, anything. You just want to help this offense build some confidence heading into week 1 of the regular season.
Our Charles Davis going to be on the call for that one. He sat down with Cam Ward, had a great conversation as well. That one getting underway at 8 Eastern. Let's talk Eagles at Jets. It's going to give us a chance to get our first look of John Mechie III in Philly. Of course, he joined the Birds earlier this week via trade. How do you see him fitting into this wide receiver room, John?
Well, I think when you look at Mechie, obviously, and the Eagles have a great receiving room. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, their top 3 spots, John Dotson, are kind of spoken for. So it's, can Mechie be that #4 guy? And this is kind of the perfect situation to break in with Philadelphia if you are Mechie, because there's absolutely no pressure on him in this game. He has only been to 2 practices since he's been traded. He's still learning the offense, but if he can go out there, catch 1 or 2 passes and just kind of make it look like that he's already getting along and understanding this offense so far, that's definitely a huge step forward, because then you have almost 2 weeks to prepare for that opener against the Cowboys. So I think if Mechie is out there and shows that he is picking up the offense already, that's definitely a good sign since he's been there barely a week.
Texans, of course, traded Mechie in a 2026 6th-rounder to Philly in exchange for Harrison Bright and a tight end and a 2026 5th-rounder. Of course, you mentioned it. The Eagles going to open the season against my Dallas Cowboys on September 4th. And, John, it just seems like this team can't get out of its own way. Just when you think there's going to be some progress, a step in the wrong direction after Jerry Jones revealed some important information to the playmaker about an extension with Micah Parsons on his podcast. I want you to take a listen.
We've got this thing. deal resolved in my mind for the Dallas Cowboys. And we've got it done. And if the agent wants to finish up the detail, which is should, and do all the paperwork, and he can do that. And we're ready to go. But as far as the amount of money, the years, the guarantees, all of that, we negotiate that. When we wanted to send the details to the agents told us to stick it up our ass.
Wait, now see,
just so you're clear.
Wait. What do you mean? So wait. What do you mean? Because people going to ask.
Mike and I talked, and then we were going to send it over to the agent. And we had our agreements on term, amount, guarantees, everything. We were going to send it over to the agent. And the agent said, don't bother because we've got all that to negotiate. Well, I'd already negotiated. I'd already moved off my mark over several areas.
There's a lot to process there, John, but as someone who has worked for Jerry Jones, I can tell you that these tirades like this, they happen often for Jerry. I'm curious here, has it swayed your opinion at all about the Micah Parsons saga here? Where do you stand after learning this new information from Jerry?
Well, I stand that Jerry Jones should ban himself from appearing on former players' podcasts when he's in the middle of a contract negotiation. No good can come out of it, Haley, because he says things like that, sticks his foot in the mouth. And to be honest, when you look at this situation, it had been pretty quiet for the past few weeks. And it was one of those things where it felt like no news is good news. Maybe they will eventually get a deal done. Then Jerry Jones drops a nuclear bomb on things with these comments and essentially throwing Micah Parsons' agent under the bus. And look, Jerry, we know that you met with Micah Parsons back in March and you think you hammered out a deal, but Micah Parsons is pretty clear that that was not the deal and that you actually have to call his agent and negotiate with his agent. That is why players have agents, so that they don't have to negotiate their own deal. And so what all this has done is thrown a wrench into the Cowboys opener. They have to play a game in less than 2 weeks. Even if the two sides somehow got a contract done this weekend, Micah Parsons is not going to be in football shape by the time the Cowboys take the field in Philadelphia against the Eagles when they raise their Super Bowl banner, one that the Cowboys haven't won in 30 years. So there is just a lot going on here, and Micah Parsons deleting them from his social media profile. I mean, it gets worse every single day. Every time you think this situation is hit rock bottom, Jerry Jones digs a hole 6 feet deeper and that rock gets even lower. So it doesn't feel like a situation that's going to resolve itself over the next few days. It might be a lot closer to the opener before these two sides are able to hammer out a deal.
The soap opera continues. John Breach, we appreciate the time. Eagles Cowboys opening the season on September 4th. Make sure you make it unbeaten in the preseason. Someone's got to lose as we take a look at this matchup. And for more on the final weeks of the preseason, we welcome back our NFL writer, John Breach, and our NFL veteran D lineman, Lige Duzable, to the program. Guys, good to see you both. Let's start with Joe Flacco and the Browns because we're going to get a good look at what this team will look like in week 1. The starters are going to get some playing time here in the finale. Lige, I'll come to you first here. How buttoned up are you expecting the Browns to look tonight or tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm excited for the starters to play. They haven't played. Joe Flacco and the frontline starters haven't played. And Haley, it's always interesting to see the philosophy of different coaches, right? Kevin Stefanski feels like he wants to put his starters out there 2 weeks before the season to really rev them up to get ready for that opener. So when I look at the starters, I want to see a clean operation and also get your playmakers involved early. David Njoku, Jerry Jeudy, those are the guys I want to see get involved early for this offense. We haven't seen Joe Flacco the entirety of the preseason, but this will be his opportunity to build that camaraderie, not only with the offensive line, but the playmakers on the outside as well.
Yeah, absolutely agree with Leger here. This is exactly what you want to do with your Kevin Stefanski. And look, the coaching philosophy around the NFL is completely different with every coach when it comes to preseason. Some coaches like to play their players, some don't. In this situation, it absolutely makes sense because you have Joe Flacco, as Leger noted, has not played in the preseason so far. This gives them a chance to make sure the operation's in sync. You got to do the huddles. You got to get the plays in from the sideline. There's a lot that goes on besides actually handing off the football and throwing the football if you're Joe Flacco. Now, yes, Joe Flacco is 40 years old, and everyone in Cleveland is probably going to be holding their breath every time he drops back to throw the ball. But the other good news here for the Browns is that they're playing the Rams. And if there is one coach who always keeps his starters on the sideline of the preseason, it is Sean McVay. So this is kind of the perfect warm-up game. You're probably going to be playing the Rams' second-team defense, third-team defense. So this is where, if you're the Browns, you go out there, Joe Flacco, play one or two good possessions, end the preseason on a high note, and get ready for week 1 against the Bengals.
Of course, everyone remembers 2023, Joe Flacco, over 1,600 passing yards, 13 passing touchdowns, had 5 starts in a crazy year for Cleveland. We'll see what 2025 looks like. If we continue, though, the quarterback conversation in Cleveland, guys, we know the pecking order is going to be Flacco, and then we get Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur coming into the game third. John, are we reading into any tea leaves here too much, or is this just another opportunity to separate the competitors from the entertainers?
Well, who knew we would be talking about a competition between the 3rd quarterback on the depth chart and the 4th quarterback on the depth chart? But this is high drama in Cleveland right now. This is absolutely a big situation. This gives both quarterbacks, because yes, they both played in the preseason, but we have not seen them both play in the same preseason game. So this gives each guy a chance to kind of take a step ahead of the other guy. If you're Shedeur Sanders and you go out and play well against the Rams and Dillon Gabriel kind of struggles, that's a great argument for you to move up the depth chart heading into week 1. And of course, we know that Kenny Pickett's injured, won't be playing tonight, but maybe Kevin Stefanski watches this game and says, you know what, maybe one of these guys, one of these rookie quarterbacks needs to be the backup, the number 2 guy heading into the regular season. So they're, even though this is the 3rd preseason game and they're not going to be starting on Saturday against the Rams, there is certainly a lot of pressure on each of these guys to perform well against the Rams.
Yeah, Breach, it'll be interesting to see how they view Kenny Pickett, because he has been banged up and hasn't played all preseason. And when you look at it, to me, this comes down to the backup role between Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. You already mentioned it. Dillon Gabriel will go in first, and people will make bones about what the depth chart looks like currently. But you got to remember, Dillon Gabriel was a 3rd-round pick, so he's going to get the advanced chance to potentially become the backup before Shedeur will. And you see Shedeur Sanders' numbers versus the Panthers. To Breach's point, he didn't play in the 2nd preseason game versus the Eagles because he had an oblique strain during that cross practice with them. So this is an opportunity for both of these young guys in this 3rd and final preseason game. They'll probably both get a quarter and a half each of gameplay to really go out there and solidify themselves and show Kevin Stefanski, if you need to call my number, I am ready. You can't worry about when you're getting your reps. You have to take full advantage of when you get your reps. So if you're Shedeur, if you're Dillon Gabriel, this is your opportunity. We haven't seen Kenny Pickett. Could he not be on the roster when the season starts? Could he be a trade guy? We don't know, but you have a full opportunity in front of you in this 3rd preseason game to solidify and let your head coach know, if you need me, you can call upon me and I'll be ready to go.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That is a age-old saying in sports. Elsewhere in this Browns rookie class, guys, still no pen to paper for the 2nd round running back Quinshon Judkins, and now the Browns look like they're kind of taking action, potentially looking to bring in some reinforcements in the backfield. When you look at the depth chart in Cleveland, guys, you've got Jerome Ford as well as the 4th rounder and Dylan Sampson currently listed. Lige, what do you make of Cleveland's running back situation? So much emphasis has been put on the quarterback room here, but they got to be able to run the ball as well.
Well, they attacked the draft at the running back position, which lets you know they feel like there was a need there. And Quinshon Judkins was the guy that went in the 2nd round, and he's dealing with some legal issues right now. And obviously, Jerome Ford has been the starter, or the off and on starter, the last couple of years. You talked about Dylan Sampson going in the 4th round. A guy I really like, Pierre Strong. Now, people will talk about that quarterbacks running back exchange versus the Philadelphia Eagles and that fumble, but he currently leads the Browns in rushing yards throughout the preseason. But to your point, Haley, could they be in the market for a guy like Brian Robinson from the Washington Commanders? Could they be in the market for a guy like Donovan Edwards, who's the number 4 running back for the New York Jets? They could be in that market depending on what happens with Quinshon Judkins. But I know that a lot of people on that staff really like Pierre Strong. So they could go into the season with the current backs they have and then wait for the thing to play out with Quinshon Judkins, but they also could be in the market for one of these other running backs.
First game of the regular season, Browns versus Bengals. So you got to be ready to go for that one. Let's go to the other side of the matchup, though, guys. When it comes to the Rams, there's no question when it comes to their quarterback situation. Barring a setback with Matthew Stafford, he's going to take on year 17 as the starter. We know we haven't seen much of him this preseason, but Sean McVay has assured us that he feels good about Stafford going forward. John, how confident are you, though, that he's going to be ready to go and able to handle the season with as limited reps as we've seen?
Haley, my confidence is about a 4 right now, and that's mainly because Matthew Stafford didn't sound confident. He was literally asked on Thursday, hey, look, are you going to be ready to play in week 1? And his answer was, I'm not going to